Hi, I'm Dan Norton. In this video, I will play and comment on my second call to the David Pakman Show, a leftist show with over 3 million subscribers on YouTube. A link to my commentary video on my first call is in the description. Here is the thumbnail and title of the video of my second call as it appears on Pakman's channel. The title reads, "Caller still wants to debate me for hours." This title, like the title of the video for my first call on David's channel, is a distortion, as I never said or implied I wanted to debate David for hours. Not that I think there is necessarily anything wrong with wanting to do that. In the first segment of my second call, after correcting David about my allegedly wanting to debate him for 3 hours for $100, I asked David whether I can post my calls to his show on my YouTube channel. I'll play that segment in a moment, but if you want to skip ahead to the point where we start discussing political philosophy, I've included a timestamp in the description which will take you straight to that point. But now here's the beginning of the call.
Let's try a different Dan. Let's try Dan from California. I'm determined to get someone named Dan on the show today.
Hi, David.
Hey, Dan.
I've got a I have a YouTube channel on which I do debates and discussions. I called a few months ago.
Oh, are
I'm
you
an
the
Ayn
one
Rand
who
fan.
offered me $100 to debate you for 3 hours?
Well, what I said was, how much would I get for $100? I didn't propose 3 hours.
Well,
But I
listen.
saw your
Yeah, okay, fair.
yeah. So first of all, I was wondering if I can post my calls to your show to my channel.
So if what you're going to do, there's no special policy for Dan from California. So here's what the rules are as we allow them. Is that fair to explain?
Sure.
If you are going to just clip your call from my channel and re-upload it wholesale, the answer is no, because you're essentially just re-uploading my content. On the other hand, if you are going to take it and do a commentary of it on your channel, or if you are recording this call from your end right now and you're going to upload, your face talking to me right now, if it's your video, then absolutely, because that's your content or you're transforming my content. But we don't allow just wholesale re-uploading of our content. Is that fair?
Okay. Yeah, I think I understand. So if I'm recording with my face this very same call, but so it looks different, then I could upload that.
Absolutely. That's your video, sir.
Different shows have different rules. Many show hosts that I've had discussions with have allowed me to post my discussions with them on my channel without having to alter the content. But David has different rules, and I respect that. Since I did not make a recording of my own during the live call, but wanted to have the call on my channel, I decided to make this series of videos commenting on my calls to his show. With that issue out of the way, I continue in the next part of the call by picking up the discussion of political philosophy that David and I had in my first call. In particular, I address his claim from the first call that my position can be described as, quote, utopian libertarianism, unquote.
Okay. Then I guess to go into a more contentful issue,
Sure.
I think last time I was describing my position as involving no taxes, and at the end of the call, I think you described it as utopian libertarianism.
Mm,
And to that, I would just want to distinguish my view from libertarianism, because a lot of libertarians are anarchists and they believe in no
okay.
government at all. Whereas I think there should be a government. It's just that it should be limited in its role, and it should be funded voluntarily, not by coercive means like taxation. And as for utopian, maybe that is intended to suggest it's not practical, but I think it's very practical, and history helps bear that out. I think the closer we've gotten to the sort of system Ayn Rand advocates of no coercion by the government, the more progress there's been. The late 19th century, I think, was the closest that any country ever has been in the United States, that is, to a pure capitalist society. And that was a tremendous growth. There was extreme growth in progress, and millions of immigrants from around the world came to our shores for more freedoms and opportunities. So I think if we look at the facts, that helps show that it is a practical system.
I disagree. So let me just make sure that now I'm not misstating. You are a non-anarchist libertarian that would rely on voluntary contributions rather than forced taxation. Is that just a yes or no? If I got it right, then just a yes is fine.
Yes, except I don't like the term libertarian. I prefer the term objectivist, which is the names of Ayn Rand's philosophy, objectivism.
Okay, so you prefer a different term, but am I right that what you're describing is non-anarchist, voluntarist libertarianism?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure I should have conceded the term libertarian applies to me, even though it was qualified in context to mean a non-anarchist sort of viewpoint. But rightly or wrongly, I didn't think it was worth fighting over at the time, so I just accepted it for the sake of being able to move on in the discussion. Next, David lays out a series of points that he thinks are problematic for my viewpoint.
So we're not going to be able to go into all of these elements today, but so that the audience can research and investigate for themselves. The problems with what you're talking about are free riders, coordination difficulties, extreme inequality, inconsistency and unpredictability of funding, emergencies and unexpected events, what you do about public goods and externalities, as well as trust issues. Now, I know you will disagree with me, and every one of those elements from that list could be an hour debate, which we're not going to have because we don't have time for. But for people in the audience who want to explore what you are suggesting and why I think it's totally impractical, that would be the list of problems I have with it. Is that a fair list for people to investigate at least?
I think that's a fair list of issues to investigate and debate, at least insofar as I understand it. For some of the points on his list, I'm not sure what issue David has in mind. For instance, I don't know what he means by trust issues. The only point on his list that we had some time to discuss during the call was the point about inequality. I won't try now to address all of the other issues he raises. I'll just say a bit about one of them, the issue of emergencies and unexpected events. I don't know why David thinks that would be a particular problem for a voluntary system to handle. Emergencies and unexpected events, such as wildfires or heart attacks, are profit opportunities in a voluntary free market system. Businesses can compete with each other to offer emergency services, such as firefighting and emergency medical care. They can also compete with each other to offer goods or services that prevent emergencies from happening in the first place, such as fire retardant building materials or drugs that reduce the risk of heart attack. And insurance companies can compete with each other in offering attractive insurance plans. If the concern is that poor people won't be able to afford any of these goods or services, I doubt that. There are absolute and relative senses of poverty. And while relative poverty will always exist in a voluntary free market system, absolute poverty, such as is found in parts of Africa, where people live on a few dollars a day, can be eradicated. In a system where there is relative poverty, the poorest people might have cars and homes, but not private jets and mansions. Likewise, they might be able to afford goods and services that deal with emergencies and unexpected events, but not the most expensive kind of such goods and services. For instance, not the most expensive insurance plans. So there will be inequality, but I don't think that's bad, if it just means inequality of wealth. David and I discuss inequality in the next part of the call, which I will now play.
The list went by pretty quickly, but just to single out one of them, the issue of wealth inequality, That I think is a non-problem. I don't think there is an inherent problem with people having different amounts of wealth or income. I think what's relevant is how they get it. So if they get their wealth by coercion or by
But Dan, I'm
fraud.
talking about something else. The problem I'm pointing out is not only in the type of system you describe with voluntary contributions in terms of funding services and whatever, you will end up having dramatically more influence and priority for those who contribute more, often by virtue, not because they just want to contribute more, but because a lot of people don't have much to contribute. And therefore, it becomes a feedback loop of increasing inequality, even in access to simple things like public services. And I believe that that's bad.
Well, I agree that inequality before the law is bad. Like if you have different rules for rich people and for poor people, like in the feudal times, we have the king or the nobility, which has special privileges, but under capitalism, there are no special privileges. Everyone is equal before the law. That doesn't mean they have equal wealth, but it means they have equal rights. No one has
Right.
special
But in a
rights.
voluntarist system of the sort you describe, it will also inevitably get them priority and greater access to things I believe should be public services.
I do think there should be public services if that means, for instance, police, but not if it means, for instance, water, electricity, and transportation services, which I think should be private services. That is, services provided by private companies, not the government. I think the government's proper role is only to protect individuals from the initiation of force, such as by robbers, rapists, and murderers. And the police do indeed protect individuals from such initiators of force. But water, electricity, and transportation companies do not. The fact that I want there to be police, however, does not mean that I support taxes. I think police should be funded not by taxes, but by voluntary, non-coercive means, as I discuss in other videos, which I will link in the description. Nor do I think some people should have greater access to police than do others. I think police should provide an equal baseline level of protection for everyone. And if some individuals want more security beyond that baseline level of protection, they can hire private security. Here is the last bit of my second call.
So, Dan, we're going to leave it there because we've got so much going on, but I do appreciate you calling in.
Thanks for taking my call, David. Appreciate it.
All right. Dan from California. You'll see the call on his channel. That I can almost certainly assure you. All right, folks. Thank you for calling in. We're going to take a break. We'll take more calls again next week.
The topic of public services comes up again in my third call to David's show, which I will link in the description once it's available. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.